Hey, welcome. I'm so excited to have you with us today because we are talking about helping your kids get to a confident place where they are sure they know what they're going to do after high school. Whether, yes, our audience is mostly homeschooled, but whether they're homeschooled or not, Lisa Marker Robbins is with us today, and I am so excited about this, you guys, because it is like she's like the extension of me. So when she knows all the things, and then after, so like what I do to help you as a parent in your homeschool journey, it's like then you hook up with Lisa, and then you take the journey forward on helping your child live their best life and making sure that they're confident about their future because man, that's some stress for us parents. I've talked to so many parents that are like have kids that are, graduated and they don't know what to do. Or they're just going to college to go to college and now they're wasting money and time to switching majors and being the forever students or whatever the case. And now we're stuck in a place where we're just flailing and you feel stressed as a parent because you can't help them because you don't know what to do. It's their choice, their life. I don't know. I don't know. And you didn't get help when you were in school. So we don't have guidance. We need to talk with Lisa. And you guys, Lisa is so amazing because she and I have so much in common. I mean, okay, people are amazing if they don't have stuff in common with me. True. But I'm just saying that when we met, it was like, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Oh, yeah, and that too. We just think a lot alike. And I am super excited to share her with you today because she has so much valuable information. She has so much experience, decades of experience in helping kids and families really reach their positive, confident path in life. And we always talk about how I'm always talking about that end goal, right? That
Mhm.
end goal and how we need to know our end goal in order to know what we're doing today with homeschooling. Well, Lisa takes it one step further and she's like, we need to know our end goal because we need to know how what we're going to do in the world and make sure it's in our passion and our purpose and our mission and in our gifts and talents and what we want to do in the world. And so that's why I'm so excited about sharing Lisa with you today. And what I'm going to do today is a little bit different than what we normally do. Normally, we go straight into an interview, and I'm trying a little something different because I love Lisa so much. I would just love her to share with you today. So, what we're going to do is a little hybrid situation where Lisa's going to share with you some really, really important mistakes and how to start with the end in mind with your kids, just common mistakes that a lot of people make. So I know I've probably made them, and all of us parents, as I said in our email that went out this morning in our email newsletter, we always hear the get a good job, go to school, get a good job, go to college, and that's the whole thing, right? So I said those in the total wrong order, but you know what I mean. And then, we also hear the follow your passions, just follow your heart, you'll be fine. Yeah, look at Lisa now. She's just like, no. So she's going to talk about that for sure. And those are some of the mistakes I know that I heard, and I've even said sometimes to people as a classroom teacher, which by the way, Lisa was as well. So this is exciting. And I'm going to let her just share with you guys for a little bit. And then we're going to come back and we're going to have a little bit more conversation because I know I have questions and I know she has a lot more that we want to dig into. So, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start off by just sharing a little bit about yourself? And then, please, whatever you have to share with us today, I know it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. So, I am a master career coach, and my favorite people are 15 to 25-year-olds, like my favorite people on the earth. And some people go like, "Ooh, that's weird or that's exhausting or that's hard." I'm like, "No, I love this age group." So, I've been working with this age group and supporting their parents because I truly believe this journey to launch our kids into what comes next after graduation, whether that's after high school graduation or after college graduation, it's a family journey. And so, yes, the end result is a confidently launched out of your house, thriving young adult. Yes, I'm over here living the good life. We're empty nesters and still get to see our kids and grandkids all the time. But so life's good over here. So come on with me. We'll get you there. But whether it's after high school or college graduation, like the outcomes for them, but it's truly a family journey. So we're supporting both your young person and the parent because it's hard knowing how to do it. I mean, Cami, you said it. Like when we were in the classroom, we both were in the classroom at the beginning of our careers. I was a high school teacher for 8 years. And then I started an educational services company. We did tutoring and test prep and private college guidance. And I had a whole team. I sold that business a year ago. But when I was operating in one of my favorite roles, which was college counselor at the time, something I don't really do any longer, I found that I struggled sometimes to support the kiddos to have the right college list when I didn't know what we were aiming for. And so in 2008, I was like, okay, we gotta figure this out because I would hear back from some of my students. I had started that company in 1999. And I would hear back from some of them. They're like, oh, I switched my major 3, 4 times, which is terribly common. And I mean, terribly, and they were extending their time in school. So, I do the math. I have 3 kids times 4. That's, well, I would be paying for 12 years of college. And if every kid stayed an extra year, I almost added another kid to my roster of putting them through college. So the math doesn't work on that so well. So if you don't have a money tree in your backyard or you're not super affluent and you're thinking through costs, like that became important. So I had these people that were spending more than they loved their school, but they were spending more than they really wanted to spend or had saved for. So that caused a problem. And I know you recently had Dave Peterson on your show, a mutual friend of ours. He works with scholarships, but scholarships expire after 4 years. A lot of families don't know that. So there's not just more money that's going to keep coming at you. That money's going to expire. So the real cost of a fifth year of education, if we just do averages, like what would your student potentially make? It's around $50,000 a year is what the average recent new college graduate makes when they get their first big kid job. And if they're not underemployed, which is a problem these days, hiring is really changing. And then you add on the increased cost. It's about a $75,000, even if you're at a state school that costs maybe around $30,000 a year, you're actually looking at 75, 80, $85,000 potential financial loss if you stay in school longer. So I just was like, "Why are these kids not clear?" They told me they loved math. They went after engineering, that's such a common one. And there's so many well-meaning people who are giving horrible advice, right? So, horrible advice. You're good at math, be an engineer, you'll always have a job, you'll make good money. Terrible advice. Um, Follow your passion. You mentioned passion. That's a bold-faced lie. Passions shift and evolve throughout our lifetime. And so when we say to somebody, well, find your passion, just follow your passion, it puts an immense amount of pressure on a young person who honestly, their brain's not yet developed to be able to handle a pressure filled comment like that, that has them looking all the way out, going like, I don't know how to get there. So, as I was running into this with my own clients that I was supporting and wanting just better outcomes for them, I wanted to do a better job. I'm always about continuous improvement. And so I was like, okay, how are we going to do this? I took every personality assessment known to man. I am like addicted to those things. Are you guys all like, the quiz pops up online. You're like, yeah, I'm all in. I want to know what kind of spirit animal I have, or what's my parenting style, or, well, I took it to the next level and I was paying for every personality assessment that remotely could have had a connection to supporting career decisions. And I tested them all. And it was literally when I thought, I'm at the end of my rope and I still haven't found like that magic bullet that I wanted, that I discovered the Berkman personality assessment. And we did it, and mine was so accurate. And the secret sauce to Berkman, and we can talk about the job list that it generates later, but the secret sauce to Berkman is that it measures what we expect from other people and our work environment. And I found this thing, I'm like, ooh, that is really cool data. But it wasn't enough. Like we needed to validate the careers that were in front of us. So I'm doing all this experimentation. And so I played guinea pig with some of my clients, and they knew, and we started to get better outcomes. And the secret sauce to the better outcomes was we began with the end in mind. I mean, Cami, I think that was one of the first things that you and I were like, ah, we got it. Okay, this is it. I found another one of my people out there in the world. And Stephen Covey writes about this as one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. And so when we begin with the end in mind, then we can reverse engineer where we want to be. So what I was finding was with those students who extended their time in school, kids were falling in love with a school and they weren't making an informed decision on that school. Their informed decision was rooted in, I like that football team, or I have legacy there. My parents went there. How could I not? Or I live in Buffalo. I don't, by the way. I live in Cincinnati, but I live in Buffalo and it's January. And right now, University of Alabama sounds really good, right? So, weather and friend influence and parent influence and that quintessential idea that they have of what the college experience would be like. But honestly, what they're thinking of when they're thinking about that is the social experience. And honestly, there's well over 3,000 universities and colleges in this United States. There will be a school that meets all their other buckets, paying for college, the right college major, all the things, where they will love the social piece too. So, students were starting with the social. They were putting their feet on campus. Parents are like, okay, let's go get our feet on campus. Their kids were falling in love with the campus for the campus vibe. And then they were later getting in and going, okay, now that I'm here, what am I going to study? And then I had some students that once they got clear on what they wanted to study while they were in college, they didn't realize that some of the options of college majors were off the table by the time their feet landed on campus. People are shocked to hear that these 17 and 18-year-olds, when they're checking the box this time of year, by the way. So if you have a junior, a year from now, you'll be hitting submit on college applications, or a sophomore 2 years from now. And so when they click that button, there are some programs common among them: engineering, nursing, performing arts, business, even teaching, architecture, where if you didn't declare that as a high school senior, if you didn't do enough to know while you were still in high school, phew, the door's closed. No amount of money, no amount of persuasion can crack that door open, because there are very valid reasons on the college side. I actually understand and support from a logical standpoint and a budgeting standpoint why it works the way it does, particularly at universities. It works a little differently at liberal arts colleges, but the reality is 73% of all students go to a research university, not a liberal arts college. So they get on campus and they're trying to figure it out. And then that's where, like, oh, well, I didn't start soon enough. I mean, education's a big one. It's not competitive to get into an education department, right? But there are very specific sequence of courses, and if you start too late, it's almost impossible to get out in 4 years if you didn't start as a freshman. So they got on campus and they were having these wonky experiences, or they just followed their passion. Oh, I love math, or I'm really creative, and that's what I based my major on. And I never thought, I like the classes I'm taking. I never thought, what might I do with that? That is the first question I ask anybody. Oh, so what did you think you were going to do with that? And I don't do it in a mean way. It's highly entertaining, all the answers I've gotten over the years to that question, but they never think about what I'm going to do with it. And for more jobs than not, the job doesn't sound like the name of the major. And so they're getting this degree, and then a lot of them are graduating, landing back in your house, parents, still on your payroll when you dreamt of the empty nest life. And now you feel the weight of carrying that burden for them because they're stuck, they're frozen, and they don't know how to get unstuck. And so, what I found with my own clients as I started experimenting was, when we reverse engineer it, before we let our kids fall in love with a campus, before they fall in love with the vibe, but we verify that this campus can get them to what they're wired to do, then we have better outcomes. So I suggest in my utopian society that I've now made peace with will never exist. If I could get every sophomore, second semester sophomore, maybe no later than going into junior year, and give them a framework that makes this work step by step, little micro movements, so that they can get confidence and clarity, then they launch out of graduation onto their own 2 feet, and maybe you'll say, "Hey, come on in, we'll let you live here for a little bit so you can save some money to save up for a house or a new car or an engagement ring." I'm in wedding planning mode right now with my 24-year-old daughter, so that comes to mind. Super fun, and we just got one married in May, so I'm like, "Okay, next June, when we get through the second wedding, I'll be like, whew." But whatever, it's fine if they come back in and that's intentionally, but when they come back in underemployed or unemployed, and a lot of their peers are launching around them, they can start to get imposter syndrome. They start to feel down on themselves, and then they're even more stuck and they can't find a way out. So my process is reverse engineering the college bound journey. Let's get them sophomore year, not no freshmen, please. There are things you can do with freshmen to start exercising this curiosity around careers, but I don't like to do a lot of like formalized career coaching with freshmen. I think developmentally, even when you're homeschooling, it's just different than the curriculum that you were doing in junior high, right? And so let's let them be freshmen. Let's let them figure out how to start high school. Let their brains adjust to that. And then let's dig in and look at building self awareness, connecting it to career awareness, filtering from all the possibilities in the world. The world's telling you you could be anything. Another lie. I seriously could have never been a NASA astronaut or a brain surgeon. I know that about myself. If we're all honest, it's a bold faced lie to say you can be anything. Isn't that exciting? No, again, that's pressure filled. That's not about, oh, it's just like find your passion. What? I have to have one passion that I feel so great about that I have to do it forever? No, no. So let's build the self awareness, connect it to career awareness, then validate the careers with real world experiences that not only inform the path that's ahead, but then goes ahead and it allows them to build a resume that's attractive to future employers, to future college admissions officers if they're college bound. And by the way, this works the same whether they're college bound or not for all of your kiddos. This is not just a college bound framework. If they when, I won't say if, when 50-year-olds come to me and say, like, I just lost my job and it's been a grind, I want to discover what the right job would be. We do the same process: self awareness, career awareness, validate, then figure out the educational path. If it's college bound, who has the major or majors that could set you up for success to lead to the future career? And then, before we still get our feet on campus, let's please evaluate for cost. I mean, that's my adjacent space as well, so we're not gonna go too deep on that, but I see the same thing happen. Kids fall in love with the campus for the vibe, and then you say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we cannot afford that." I remember when my now 27-year-old was in high school. He's a smarty pants, gifted, and he took the PSAT and ACT, and then we start getting all the mail, right? And this is a while ago. He graduated high school in 2016. So oh, we you still got mail. You didn't get a lot. You didn't get constant emails. We actually had physical mail. And he walked into the kitchen one day, and I've got this flyer in front of me, and he sees me putting it into the trash. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He had a sense of what it was. I said, "Oh, it was a college flyer, someplace that you're not going to go, so I'm just throwing it away." "How do you know I'm not going to go there?" And I said, "Well, even if you could get in," it was the University of Chicago, by the way. "Even if you could get in, this mom doesn't have the money to pay for you to go to the University of Chicago. So we're never going to go near that campus because you could fall in love and we're not going to go there." It works the same way, my friends, when we're looking at the career side. Let's make sure that they can set them up for the career where they want to do. And it's not a forever decision career. Let's make sure you can afford it. And then you guys can go do your college visits. So we've reverse engineered this with much, much better results.
I absolutely love this, Lisa. This is so amazing because, yes, we're doing the same thing that we do when you're part of the Freedom Scholar community and you're part of the Inspiring Life and Learning Academy is we start with the end in mind and we work backwards to say, okay, what do we need to do today to make sure that we're going to get that end goal? So you're talking about the same thing with college and career. We're saying,
Yep.
hey, college might not be the thing that you need. Maybe it is. Well, let's see what that end goal is first, and then let's go back and then let's reverse engineer the whole thing to see what are the things we need to do. And then I love the practicality of it because, like, hey, sometimes we need to really be realistic sometimes. I mean, we
Yeah.
want our kids to think, dream big and go for everything. But hey, USC might not be on the top of the list for us as far as financial goes. Yeah, there's scholarships and we can get with Dave, the scholarship coach, on that. But I mean, really, let's think practically about that logistically. How far away do you want to be? This, all these things, right? And then majors, right, too, as far as what that majors offers. And that has changed a lot, I know, in the
Yeah.
last couple years. A lot of universities are offering different things or not offering things. And so we have to make sure that we're staying up to date on that. But I love that. And when you were talking about the asking the question of what you're going to do with that, that reminded me so much of when I was in college. And I went thinking that, like, yeah, I'd love to be a teacher. And I always love kids. I always love working with kids. But I really thought I was going to be an elementary school teacher. Right. So this
Yeah.
is hilarious. And so then I went to college and I just was taking my GE classes, 'cause that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And there was this one, like, old quintessential English teacher that was his last semester, actually, at the time. Came in with a leather bound briefcase, was all he had. It was a old school. Okay, I'm sorry, there was a chalkboard. And there and and he pulled out this big anthology and we just talked about poetry and the ins and outs, and he broke it down and I fell in love. I fell in love. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I'm so excited about this. I want to study this. And I was telling my parents, and they said, okay, that's nice. What are you going to do with that, though? And so they did ask that question. I was like, well, I've always wanted to teach. Maybe I could teach English. And then as I realized going through my programs, I thought, I don't actually want to be an elementary teacher. I like the deeper discussions. I like being able to tell kids that, hey, you're being kind of ridiculous right now, aren't you? And they go,
Can't say that to a second
yeah.
grader.
I can't say that to a second
You're
grader.
being
Yeah.
kind of
You get
ridiculous right
tears,
now. Yeah, you're
crying.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Parent calls.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing that totally reminded me of that situation. And one of the things that I want to definitely touch on here is that you talked about whether college might not be right for the
Mhm.
career.
Yeah.
That is something that I hear a lot from parents, is that they want their kids to be college ready if they want them to go. And
Mhm.
then, or if they want to go, I'm sorry, if the
Yeah.
student wants to go and they don't want to go right now,
Mm.
but by the end of high school, they might change their mind and
Mhm.
might want to go. So we want them to be college ready. So when you're thinking about that, let's say a kid's, just really not he's really into, or actually one of the I've heard a lot is daughters that really want to go into like beauty school or
Mm.
something like that,
Yeah.
or in the trades or whatever the
Yeah.
case, right?
I
Want to
one
be
of
an
my kids is
electrician.
in the trades. Not all my kids went to college, by the way.
Yeah, so when we're thinking about career planning for those kinds of
Mhm.
things, how do they know? And I love that you touched on this a little bit, but I want to just make sure because I feel like this is important.
Yeah.
How do they know that that's what they want to do? So this is like that experimenting part of job career
Like, what would
exploration.
you do to validate?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah, so first of all, I love that question that you raised about, like, I want my kid to be college ready.
Mhm.
So, I've had lots of podcasts, of my on my podcast, College and Career Clarity. I've had lots of topics on, what does it mean to be ready? And how do you know if they really are ready, right? So they don't go and they don't flounder. And I would argue that, like, when you're parenting to raise an adult, we're not trying to raise. There's an author who she actually used to be a dean at Stanford. And she said, "We're raising adults. We're not raising children. You're raising them to be an adult." And
Yes.
so those college ready skills, aren't they just life ready skills?
Yes.
So if we all embrace those as life ready skills, then they're going to be good whether college is in the plan or not. And if they go a different direction, doesn't that just mean that they're gonna be out of your house and you're not gonna be worried that they aren't gonna wake up to their alarm clock and go to work, right? And that they're gonna pay their bills on time, that they're eating healthy meals, like, those are the skills. It's really the self-management, the executive functioning, the life skills that really make somebody college ready. It's less about the academics. If they're not academically ready, they probably aren't going to get in. And if they do get in, they might have to be taking remedial courses, which, by the way, will extend their time in college because they won't even get to the meat of what they have to study until maybe even sophomore year. I was just at a conference, National Association for College Admissions Counseling, and I went to a panel discussion between Caltech and Georgia Tech and Ohio State University about the role calculus plays on getting in. And this is about like academic readiness, right? So there's academic readiness, but that's not really what's going to stop your kid from being successful in school. It's the life skills. And so that's going to benefit them either way. So that's the first thing. So you guys are great with homeschooling because you can kind of incorporate, we've gotten rid of home ec and shop, and they do have personal finance in public high schools, but at least here in Ohio. Um, but you guys can infuse this into your learning, which I love, right? You can infuse the career exploration piece into your learning. We have lots of families that use our course to infuse it in as one of their courses for their homeschooling. So, how do we validate? So, that process is we personally on the self awareness, first of all, we look at, I'm going to go through the whole process, not just the validation piece, and then we'll kind of deep dive on what that means. But we look at our hardwired personality, who we were created to be, the purposes that we can fulfill in this world, the ripple effect we can make in this world. So we look at those and we measure those through the Berkman. Then we get honest about our values. I say to people like, don't be embarrassed that you value making a lot of money. I mean, at least just be honest with yourself, right? Don't tell your parents what you think they want to hear. Be honest with yourself, right? If travel and freedom is your highest value, that's fine. Let's be honest. Go be a travel nurse. I don't know. Let's see if nursing is good for you. So we're going to get honest with our values. We're going to look at our hardwired personality, and we're going to get honest with ourselves about our academic aptitudes and any limitations we might have. Then, when we go to do careers, the first thing we do is we just sit behind a computer and we start researching online. And that's really safe and comfortable at first, right? And then got to get up from behind the computer, walk out the door, and start validating. So, how do we validate? Could be through courses that you guys are teaching in your homeschool curriculum. It could be through informational interviews, job shadow. This is where it gets a little scary because kids haven't gone out and interacted with adults or strangers like this. So I try to give them, I always say we cannot do it for them. The assessment's not going to do it for them. It's not going to tell them what to be. There's a piece of this that they have to do, right? But we can get as adults, and what we do in our program is we give them scripts of emails they can send, even a thank you note that they can send, even a social media post that they can do, customized to them, who they are and what they're exploring, so that they've got confidence. It's okay to do that stuff to support them. It is not, and then say like, well, let me help you. Let's do the first one together. Now you write the email by yourself. I'll check it before you hit send. Okay, now you're off to the races, right? That's getting them real world ready. That's getting them college ready, right? They got to be able to, if they're in college, they got to be able to approach their professors. So, informational interviews, job shadows, micro credentials are huge right now. Huge. Colleges are adding micro credentials to their offerings at the schools. So what does that mean? I want to go into sales. I've learned Salesforce. I'm Salesforce certified. That could be an example, right? So, micro credentials, industry credentials will not only help validate a career path, but it's also going to set you up for getting internships and employment. And by the way, high school internships exist. And there are ways to pitch yourself for high school internships while you're still in high school and make money. And I know, people don't always believe me, but it can be done. We've had lots and lots and lots of students make that happen. So those are the types of things that we're doing to validate. Once you've validated, then you go, okay, well, what's the career path or paths? I'm going to use nursing for example. This is like you can stack your education to get up to like a BSN, right? So you could earn your LPN, then get a LPN job where they usually will pay for you to earn your RN. Then they'll usually pay for you to get your accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And so that's a different pathway, or you can go to college to get a BSN. So those are some of the ways that we do it.
That makes perfect sense, and I love that we're scaffolding all of that stuff on top of each
Yeah.
other, and even that certification, the micro certifications, I feel like are really great introductions to like, "Woo,
Mm.
I do not like this at all.
Right.
This is not something that's my jam," and that's a good way to test those things out, but having those conversations and yeah, if you're starting from, early in homeschooling, following those kind of tendencies, what are their passions or tendencies and things, and then giving them opportunities to be able to work in the world like that. That's something I really, really love. I used to do with my high school students is project-based learning where the outcome was outside of the
Yes.
classroom. So anywhere where you're getting them out into the world doing things is always a great opportunity for them to just feel out what's their jam and what's not and what they feel right doing. So I love this so much. And you mentioned earlier that you were talking about what colleges offer what things and what majors
Yeah.
and I know you have a guide for this that we're going
Yeah.
to offer to our family. So can you just tell just briefly a little bit about that guide?
Sure. So we did a deep dive research project. I already mentioned earlier, 73% of students go to a public research university,
That
right? Where
shocks me really.
does it?
Yeah.
A lot of
I
time,
guess it's my English teacher background, but
well, people go like my state schools usually are a very affordable option. There's lots of, merit aid out there or private scholarships and merit aid at
ah.
privates, but
Mhm.
a lot of the liberal arts colleges don't have technical programs like
Mhm.
engineering. That's very hard to find. It's not unheard of, but even nursing. So a lot of times they don't have those majors. But it also the rah-rah experience that kids are attracted to for college, that quintessential experience is typically found on that what is in their mind, that vibe is at a research university.
That's interesting.
So we we took the 50 state flagships and we looked at how do they admit students to major? Do they admit directly to major? Do they admit to some majors but not all? Do they have some pre-majors? Not a huge fan of like pre-major of nursing because they'll accept 300 and then let 50 kids in sophomore year. And then what are you going to do? Um, or do they just you can come in and it's very easy to change majors, not a lot of restrictions. Out of the 50 state flagships, only 8 schools really truly have a policy where it's like, "Come on in, nobody's admitted to major," and you can very easily change your major, and they are at less selective schools. So we took the data and we've got it that we can share with everybody. We can share with all of your viewers. And then we gave them the email that we sent to every college and the questions we asked when we picked up the phone and we called so that if you're looking at a school that's not one of those 50 state flagships that we have, you can go ask them the same questions to get the same answers. Any restricted majors you have, any majors with capped enrollment, any majors that if I don't start there as a freshman, there's no way I can graduate in 4 years. And then I have a little teaching video about it.
That's
So
awesome. I'm super excited. You guys get
yeah,
access to that. Thank you so much for providing that for us.
of
That
course.
is all in every show notes. Wherever you're watching, listening to this, you'll be able to to get that information. And then Lisa also has a lot of free resources on her website as well. I link that to
Great.
for you guys in the show notes. So make sure that you get in touch with her if you have a teen, if you have a young person who even outside of after high school is still struggling. Make sure you get in touch with Lisa. Like she said, she works with all people even after they've gone through something and they're like,
Yeah.
"Man, I'm in the wrong place." So, I love
Well,
it.
that's why we do 15 to 25 because
Yeah.
we're seeing a growing number of 20 somethings that they're like, "I didn't even think about that, and now I need help."
Mm. Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a trend happening, and I love that we have Lisa to guide us along the way. So thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa.
Thank
I know you
you.
guys. I invite you next week on October 16th. We have our inspiring lifelong learners masterclass happening, and I want to invite you guys there. There is going to be information about it right after we're done here, and I really know that if you have a lifelong learner, one thing that is for sure when we're talking about college readiness is that if you have a teen who is a lifelong learner already,
Mhm.
who already is confident in learning, already is, it doesn't matter what they do or don't know when they get to college or if they decide they want to go. They will learn what they need to learn. I have plenty of stories about that, but they will learn what they need to learn when they need to learn it because they're confident and they own their own education. So I'm going to talk about all how to get your kids to that point on the 16th, next Thursday. And you guys, this is going to, it's a free event. And I know that it will change a lot of your thinking and the way that your homeschool works. So thank you again, Lisa, for joining us today. I'm
Thanks,
super
Tammy.
excited that everyone got to hear from you. And we will talk to you next week. Bye bye.